Back in 2017, Vekoma debuted their brand new Bermuda Blitz model with Leg Coaster, and this threw the world on its head. All of a sudden, Vekoma went from the lazy, copy and paste garbage to the manufacturer that everyone wanted a piece of. The only problem was they weren't doing it in the US. For the first couple of years of this new era of Vekoma, they were exclusively in Europe and sometimes dabbling in Asia. And this got a lot of people thinking, why? Why now is Vekoma being picky about where they would build? Why, when they finally have a ride model that actually looks good, are they gatekeeping it from the biggest chains in the world? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to answer in this video. Or not exactly. I'll be answering when Vekomas will come to the US and why Vekoma didn't want them to come in the first place. First question is easy. They're already here. We're not just now in 2023 starting to see new gen Vekomas being added to parks. It started with Tron at Magic Kingdom. This ride was supposed to open in 2021, but got pushed back a while because of COVID and other Disney problems. But this is a new gen Vekoma. It has the new gen track, the new launches, and quite a unique layout catered especially for Disney's needs. Now, it's at this point that I would like to say Vekoma didn't really ever fully leave the US. They took a mini hiatus from most of the major chains except one, Disney. That's right, the mouse itself was the only one crazy enough to keep working with Vekoma all of these years. Why they chose Vekoma as their go-to manufacturer is beyond me, but they've used them for pretty much all of their major coasters. Rock and Roller Coaster, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, Barnstormer, Expedition Everest, these are all large-scale Vekoma coasters. And I think this says something about the company as a whole. This is a manufacturer that is very reliable and has very high capacity, which are both characteristics of B&M, like the biggest manufacturer in the game. So obviously there is some quality in Vekoma. They just haven't been around the US in a while. And it actually makes sense that Disney of all companies would be the one to break the Vekoma fast by announcing building Tron. This definitely gave a lot of parks more confidence and like the green light to try out the new gens because Disney logic. If Disney did it, then so should we. First, Disney also did Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot. This opened to rave reviews because of the theming, but also how the ride interacts with the theming, aka the ride system. And I think that's kind of something underrated about Vekoma. This is a programmable spinning coaster of all things, which kind of goes to show just how versatile this manufacturer is. They do sit downs, bike coasters, and now spinners. It's no wonder Disney has used them for all of their weird rides. Then there was the announcement and recent opening of Big Bear Mountain at Dollywood. And I'm gonna be honest guys, this is not a very good looking ride. It's not a bad ride, but it doesn't really do anything. I know it's just a family coaster and yada yada yada, but I've seen way more creative family coasters that are doing a lot more than whatever is going on here. There's a better one literally in the same park, or even just in the same themed area, also by Vekoma. Still though, this was a step in the right direction, as Dollywood is a large-scale non-Disney park building one of these Vekomas, showing that it was safe for other coaster-oriented parks to play ball. And that is exactly what happened. Now for the newest addition to Six Flags Great Adventure in 2024, we are getting Flash Vertical Velocity, a new gen Vekoma super boomerang. I talked about this in my last video ranking the rides coming next year, so if you want to go more in depth about the layout, then go check out that video. And the fact that it's a boomerang that actually looks good is a cool way to pay homage to the company's roots, even if they're not trying to. It's kind of like they're saying to us, look how far we've come, and we're all here for it. But what's more exciting about this ride is the fact that it's going to a Six Flags park. If you know anything about Six Flags, then you know that they do not like to step out of their comfort zone. They are perfectly fine working with the same three manufacturers for an entire decade, which is basically what they did in the 2010s. S&S, RMC, and Premier Rides were their go-to manufacturers for pretty much every project in the 2010s, and it only really worked because RMC was so good. But towards the end of the decade, RMC started popping and it became a little too pricey for Six Flags. So they needed to find another manufacturer that could take its place as a go-to. One that was innovative, reliable, and crowd-pleasing, but also not too expensive. If it wasn't clear to you by now, I'm trying to say that Vekoma is replacing RMC. Vekoma is experimenting with new innovative rides, and they're starting off a Great Adventure. I think Great Adventure is slowly becoming the Six Flags testing ground for these weird rides that are for the bigger Six Flags parks. Jersey Devil was the first big Raptor before Wonder Woman, and now Flash I think will be the first big super boomerang before I'm sure Magic Mountain gets one too. Actually, I think a lot of Six Flags parks will get this. I mean, just look at it. How could this not be a clone? It literally already is. If there isn't any huge mistakes or accidents or drama or capacity issues, I think this is going to be popping up at pretty much every major Six Flags park. Over Georgia, over Texas, Magic Mountain, Great America, you name it. If the park hasn't gotten a major coaster in a while or is the favorite child, then one of these is coming its way. And I know a lot of people are complaining about capacity, but people were also complaining about capacity for Jersey Devil, and that's never really been that bad. Here's the thing I've never really understood about the capacity argument. Unless an addition is taking something that has high capacity and replacing it with something with low capacity, no matter what the park is, it's still increasing its rider capacity. I feel like I'm saying capacity a lot. Like, it's not like we're trying to put everyone in the park through this ride at once. There's still La Toro, Nitro, King Ka, Batman, Jersey Devil, all those other rides that people are going to be on to spread out the guests. But realistically, this is not going to be the best ride in the park. It probably won't even be top 3. For most people, I think it'll sit at a comfortable 4th, maybe 5th place, depending on how much you like King Ka. So it's not going to be the most popular ride always. After opening week, you're not really going to have to wait super long, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And for those complaining that you're going to have to wait opening week, I'm sorry, it's a new ride. You're gonna have to wait. Okay, I've been talking about this ride for too long. This is not an analysis. Go check out my ranking 2024 videos if you want more. Now, if Vekoma does make a full return to the US, what could happen? Well, Six Flags is gonna spam these rides everywhere, but that's a given. I think Silver Dollar City will get one, maybe a little bit more thrilling than what Dollywood got. They don't really have a standard multi-launch coaster. They have Powder Keg, which is like a log flume, and they have Time Traveler, which is a spinner. So I could just see a generic loopy multi-launch here, but that being said, Dollywood could also use a generic loopy multi-launch, so I guess it could go either way. These also seem right up SeaWorld's alley, with them being more experimental and weird and high capacity. And honestly, Cedar Fair could use these, so really basically any chain is fair game. And that's why it's so exciting that they're finally coming here, because once these become mainstream, they really could pop up anywhere. And they look like such good rides. Like, tell me Cedar Point couldn't make like a top 50 coaster in the world with one of these, like a supersized leg coaster. But I still haven't answered the question of why they weren't here before. Why in 2023 are we just starting to see these appear? Well, it's really quite simple. It's just business. It'd be way cool if the parks had beef with Vekoma after the SLCs or something like that, but in reality, it's much more economical and much more boring. Vekoma is owned by Sansei, who also happens to own SNS. Now, if you didn't know, SNS isn't exactly the most popular manufacturer. They make cool rides, but honestly, they're not that different from what Vekoma's doing now. They make weirdly shaped and choreographed rides customized to how the park wants it. They're honestly really underrated, but that's not the point. Actually, that is the point. SNS already isn't the most popular manufacturer. If you add Vekoma into the equation now, the company is just competing with itself. They're shooting themselves in the foot. I think Vekoma is supposed to be exclusively outside the US, then they were going to revamp them overseas, and SNS would do all the stuff in the States. But when people started to see the Vekomas in Europe and they really liked it would be stupid not to eventually start building in the US where people want it. Where there's demand, there will be supply. I don't know if that's actually true, but I feel like it should be. Now, for enthusiasts, that's been torture, but actually SNS has been doing pretty good by themselves over the last decade. Their free spins have been put at every single Six Flags under the sun, but they've also broken out and scattered into other parks. They've also done El Locos and air launch coasters and whatever Steel Curtain is. Putting Vekoma in the US is just a competition when there doesn't need to be. But like I said, I think we've gotten to the point where they can't keep ignoring the States. The demand is just too high. I think we're on the brink of a Vekoma revolution, and it's going to change a lot of parks. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I think I said in the last video, but I'm sorry about the slower uploads. I've been really busy, but I promise it'll go back to my normal, still kind of slow pace. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and I will see you next time.